Yeah.
Right.
By the way, thank you, Joel. Hey, Nada, do we have Sam, or is he likely to join?
Sam is not on yet, but he did confirm, so I just
good.
sent
Okay.
another.
Well, you know, I had a question for Joel. I wondered if Joel went to the website for Ra. Arcturus Ra is one of you. He'll be our featured guest the first 30 minutes of the 90-minute call, or a dialogue between him and Dr. Sam. So I wondered if Joel had a little chance to look at Ra's website just to have a little background.
I have a couple years ago. I haven't recently, so I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Sure.
I see. A lot has changed. A lot of insights and inventions, and also a lot of help is being offered of every category for him to sort out. So he's on the verge of a lot of expansion. He can pick and choose how he wants to go. So that's nice that you have you ran across him some time ago. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What do you invent? Yeah. What do you invent, by the way?
My latest product is called the Vivre, and it's basically a vibration frequency delivery device. And there's a left and a right to really create some fields. It works by acoustic frequency. So it's driven by an app. So I have creators create programs, because really that's where the magic is. The Vivre is just a delivery system, right? So you have a left and a right. So the app is called V Resonator. And once again, it works by resonance, acoustic resonance.
What's your site, Joel?
Vivreforlife.com, VIVREFORLIFE. So the product, getting my final prototypes now, so the product will be available, I'm hoping mid-October.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Are you near Nada?
I'm here. No, he's not. Sorry.
I'm in Seattle.
Hey, fellow Northwester here. I'm in Kentucky, but I lived 15 years out in the North Olympic Peninsula.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Bainbridge Island, Paulsbo, Port Angeles, Port Townsend, all that area.
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's
Who's calling from Seattle?
Joel's calling from Seattle.
Oh, I see. He's in. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to welcome Dr. Sam. He is on the line, and also Dr. Ken Nekich and Sandy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi,
By the way,
I invited Joel. Did you tell them, Joel?
Also, Sandy, you're not forgotten. I had to finish some press release stuff. I will answer your questions. You are not forgotten, and everything else is received.
I'm sure. Thank you.
One thing I want to say about Dr. Ken, and I'll just leave this one line here for everybody. Dr. Ken is one of the more ambitious higher dimensional community builders, and he's right in Columbus, a major metropolitan area. So he's going to be really rolling up his sleeves and really making a major outreach so people in the Columbus area really know what higher science is and all the benefits for their health and consciousness.
Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah.
Hi, Frank. Frank is on the line. Dr.
How
Ken,
are you?
if you would like us to see you.
Nisa is around somewhere.
Good. Nice to see you.
We're buying property in Sedona.
Oh, right. Congratulations.
Yeah, trying to do it before.
No, we already got it.
We already got it.
She's my friend from Maryland.
Yeah, she's a friend. The seller is our friend from Maryland.
She remembered me.
Yeah.
And she was
Congratulations. Congratulations.
It's like awesome.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And she wanted somebody.
Hey, Ra, we're gonna be neighbors.
Yeah, Rob, we got a place right near you.
We're moving.
Okay. Make sure the panorama is nice. I mean, every place you find in Sedona, you're like, what, this is Sedona? Like, you have views and stuff.
Friend. It's my friend.
Yeah, it's a friend of ours.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Don't panic.
I'm not panicking. I'm just saying it's a...
I'm just kidding.
You feel into it, get into it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I panic when I look for my house.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Yeah.
we're working on that.
Dr.
So-
How was your month? How was your week? You had some engagements last week.
Oh, yeah. Peter Hayes came over. And he was here with his daughter. She's going to the Tampa University, getting
Great.
a public health master's.
Great.
Yes.
I'm asking
Good.
Dr. Sam. Dr. Sam.
There you are, doctor. How are you?
Hello guys, how are you?
Very good, very
How are you doing?
Thank
How are the pyramids and how is Bosnia these days?
I
Hi,
just
everyone.
got into my house from Visoko, from the heart of Bosnia and our Bosnian pyramid sites. Despite the pandemic, today we had 1,450 visitors. Yesterday, another 1,400. So I have a record numbers of visitors. And in the meantime, since our first conversation, the world tennis player #1, Novak Djokovic, came to visit Bosnian pyramids. And this is what he said. #1, if there is a paradise on earth, it is here. #2, I have visited many energy potent places in the world. This is the strongest. And #3, Bosnian pyramids are home to my soul. So he had wonderful time. He stayed for 3 days. I have shown him most of the locations, the Bosnian pyramids of the sun and the moon and the tumulus and the Ravne tunnels. In the meantime, we have discovered a total of 6 entrances to underground prehistorical tunnels. It's amazing and very exciting prehistorical world. So we combine archaeology and science and history and tourism, which of course we use to self-finance all our activities. We are running non-government, non-profit foundations, so we don't receive any money from the government. We have even volunteers. Last year, I would have 50, 60 volunteers a day in August. But Friday, I had 10 of them. A couple of guys from Czech, from France, from Austria, Croatia, and Serbia. And I was happy with that because all the borders have been closed in Europe. You cannot travel from Germany to Croatia, from Slovenia to Bosnia, whatever. Shame, but this is what we have right now. Despite all these obstacles, we stayed very busy. Our spots are so visited, and as a matter of fact, we have kept this sense of normality in Southern Europe. We have beautiful park. Park is full right now. We have at least 1,000 people there. You know, we built this park from the swampy, neglected properties. So we combine from archaeology and science, energy aspect, healing aspect, and all these beautiful elements of healthy living. So when you ask me how we've been very busy. We've been doing a lot of YouTube videos. We've been promoting and preparing ourselves for next year and especially 2022, because that will be the year when pandemic will be past, and I think the place will explode.
That's great news. That's great news. I wonder if anybody here present has any questions for Dr. Sam in regarding to, you know, visitations or the entrances or anything.
Well, I have one question: is are there any plans to open the rock with the ruins, to go past that, to go into that section that was sealed off?
Well, actually, the message is about the place being sealed or being closed. As a matter of fact, the message goes like this: the gate has been closed. We are at the standstill. We will need to defend ourselves and conquer until the cosmic gate is open. Well, this block, it's about a 1-ton block. It's sitting in the passageway. So nothing below it, nothing behind it. So it's the message that's been left for thousands of years. What exactly they meant, most probably it is related to the tunnels as the complex. When we did the second translation though, there was additional element which was added, and it was a great water or big flood was probably the cause why the place was, shut down, why it was closed.
So you're saying behind the rock is no gate, like
no, behind the rock is this conglomerate wall. It's just, pebbles, rocks, and sand. Just river conglomerate. Nothing behind it.
So how far can you go or scan behind that rock?
Well, we can, that's just the wall. So, you don't go behind it. However, that particular rock, actually it is the ceramic block. It's artificially made material. That the block is about 80 meters, about 250 feet from the entrance. And in the meantime, since we discovered it back in 2006, in the meantime, for 14 years, we have opened 2.5 kilometers or 1.5 miles of prehistorical tunnels. So we passed this spot beyond long time ago. And we've been moving towards the Sun Pyramid. That's what we've been doing. And then also in the meantime, we discovered entrance to the second level tunnels. So it's not just one level, it's a huge labyrinth, but the second level also. And most probably there are between 3 and 7 levels. So it's a huge, huge undertaking. This project will last for generations.
So are you taking groups, the usual tunnels that I have been in a couple years ago, or
Yes.
have you expanded beyond?
Well, both. Most of the visitors, like today, out of 1,400, probably 1,200 of them, they've been visiting us for the first time. So we have our regular tourist, route. It's about 600-700 meters. But then also people who come to meditate, who are there for second time, third time, fourth time, who come for the healing reasons. We have more meditation routes, number 1 and 2 and 3, with a lot of meditation chambers. So they are allowed to explore for themselves the tunnels. So they can go as far as 1 kilometer, half a mile or even 1 mile away from the entrance. And this is in what we call the Ravne tunnels. Now, in the meantime, we discovered Ravne 2, Ravne 3, Ravne 4. Ravne 3 tunnels we've been exploring last year and this year. This is the place where we discovered 3,200 artifacts. Most of them were pottery pieces, but also some metal nails and some metal stuff. So, it's very exciting. And hopefully next year when we are back to our regular volunteering with 300-400 people a year, they will be given the opportunity to actually discover artifacts, organic material, new concrete blocks on the Sun Pyramid, some of the prehistorical tunnels. Yes.
I had a question for Dr. Sam.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Sam, I'm just curious, is there any known relationship between the ancient Bosnian pyramid cultures and the Grand Union of Tartaria? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Well, Tartaria is something that's been located in the Middle Age, late Middle Age. And as far as the old Bosnian cultures, if we take an official chronology, we are talking about the Paleolithic times, which is Old Stone Age era, which ended 12,000 years back. Officially, until then, there were no civilizations. There were no buildings, constructions, because for them, that was the era of the primitive caveman. And then during the Neolithic times, you know, we have 5 different cultures that were partially in the region of Bosnia. Now, I will give you those names, probably it will mean nothing to you. Starčevačka culture, it's a little place called Starčevac in Croatia. Then we have Vinča, well, that's rather known place, that's in Serbia near today's Belgrade. Vinča culture is about 9,000 years. Vinča and Lepelski Vir, the first metallurgy in Europe, about 9,000 years. It was performed there. Then we have Butmir culture, which was discovered by Austria-Hungary 130 years back. And we have Kakan culture and Hvar culture, which is Adriatic cultures. All those cultures are from 6,000 to 9,000 years old. However, what we are talking in our case of Bosnian pyramids, according to the radiocarbon dating, we have 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. This is the dating of the fossilized leaves that we discovered between layers of concrete blocks that cover the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, 29,200. And just last week, in our Ravne 3 tunnels, we also made exceptional discovery. Namely, we've discovered some dry walls. Dry walls is a proof of a structure. And those dry walls were below, under one calcium carbonate plate, which came from the ceiling. It collapsed from the ceiling. And on top of this plate, we discovered stalagmite. Now, stalagmite is produced by, you know, water dropping for thousands of years. We took the stalagmites and sent it to the Institute for Geology of the Czech Academy of Sciences in Prague, Czech Republic. And just last week, we got the results. The age is 19,000 plus minus 1,000 years. What does that mean? If stalagmite is 19,000 years, the area, so for the preparation, it would take a few thousand years. And then you have this calcium carbonate plate, since the time it collapses, a few thousand years. And below that, we have a dry wall, we have a structure, meaning the structure is at least 25 to 30,000 years. So now we have scientific proof that even in Paleolithic times, old stone age, we have proof of construction. Now this was a great discovery, and many people in Bosnia published that through the web portals and daily news and TVs and so on. It was a big discovery just from the last week.
Hey, Dr. Sam, is your upcoming tour, does it involve any stops in America, or it's just in Europe, your tour out there in January, I think?
Well, of course, until this year, I was taking tours to, for example, in February, February this year, I took people to South Africa, Swaziland, and Zimbabwe, together with Michael Tellinger. Of course, Michael Tellinger, best known for promoting the stone circles and Adam's calendar. In Swaziland, the oldest iron mine, 43,000 plus years. In Zimbabwe, we have many locations with balancing rocks made from granite. And then I was taking tours every December to Egypt. Last year it was Egypt. This year it was supposed to be Egypt. However, this year I will have to cancel because I don't think that the travel this year will be really allowed to go from one continent to another. And then in May, I will take tours to Turkey. Turkey is a very exciting country, you know, Istanbul and Ankara, beautiful museums, but then Göbekli Tepe, officially the oldest megalithic site in the world. That is uncovered by the official science. On Wikipedia and other pseudo-scientific sites, they are saying 11,600. However, it is at least 14,000, but late Dr. Klaus Schmidt told me between 15 and 18,000 years old. And then we go to Hattusha, which was the capital of Hittite Empire. We go to amazing Nemrut Mountain or Nimrod tumulus. I mean, you have 75,000 tons of ground rocks on top of the mountain, creating this beautiful tumulus. No explanation whatsoever. It had to be some spaceship who dropped 75,000 tons of material on top of the mountain, 2,100 meters high. And some other places. Turkey is very exciting. Unfortunately, I had to cancel Turkey this May. November, I was supposed to go to Sardinia to do many measurements of their interesting megalithic nuraghi structures. They are conical structures. Many other places. Unfortunately, I had to clear my schedule for the rest of the year. I'm not going anywhere. I was supposed to do lectures in Las Vegas, in Chicago, and so on. So let's wait until, I would say, fall of 2021. You know, when World Health Organization started with this pandemic on March 11th, 2020, they said 18 months. 18 months is September of 2021.
September of
Okay.
2021.
Is there anything?
However, June might be possibility. But most probably with vaccines, if you got vaccinated, then probably yes. Or if you have some paper that, we'll see what's going to be happening, but I think they will be releasing very slowly those measures, bans to travel. So Nada, of course, will stay in touch. But I think by September of 2021, we will be free to roam the planet again.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Hi, Lois.
Hello, howdy.
Hey, we have one of my signed up pilgrims on the call, Lois Shibanik. This is Professor Sam right there. Can you see him?
Yes, I can indeed. Thank you for your comments.
Lois has been quite patiently awaiting her meeting you because she has so many questions for you. And as you can tell by her last name, she has a Croatian origin there. So
Yes.
Šibenik, right? Yeah. So I'm so happy you made it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions here for Dr. Sam, or should we see how we can connect?
Well, I was wondering, I thought we might, I don't know if Sam's interested, but maybe we could send him something that Ra makes. It's kind of a reflection of the light science of these megalithic structures. So I don't know, I'll leave that to him, but we could send him anything to kind of experience what Ra's doing. You know, there's a great connection here, this ancient cultures and wisdom of higher dimensions, and the two primary guests reflect that in their own unique way, Dr. Sam and Ra.
So what do you think?
Well, I can send them like my pendants, you know, I can send them some stuff. A box in the future because it's going to be costly and it's also experimental because when you send energetic devices to Europe, they tend to mysteriously disappear.
Okay, so that would be something that maybe somebody when traveling can take with them. Like when you're going to visit.
You can't even bring that to customs. If their systems go weird, they totally flip out. Don't even try to battle the establishment. They're not ready for those energies. Well, you know the story how Michael Tellinger, which at some point I will talk to him, had a very highly photonically charged rock in his pocket. And he went to the thing down. They came with drawn guns at this guy. So higher dimensional technology has an effect on three-dimensional, lower dimensional technology, you know? So we need to find ways where they can accept that this can be transported, and then we move bigger things and ship to Bosnia, no problem. This is an experiment. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And interestingly is the Postal Service disappears it. You know, you get a notice and the tracking gets lost. Nobody has an idea and this package is just gone. So I know what the shit's being tracked. So we have to develop a plan or something how to make that safe. Or or I build one and go to Bosnia and assemble it in Bosnia. So
That's a plan. That's an opportunity. That's an option, since you want to go and experience that yourself anyways.
yeah, I'm training myself. So the fantastic news that I have is you can't see without eyes. There are schools worldwide. Watch the movie by Carol Coraline, I think Carol Coraline or something, called Superhuman. It's on Gaia. He shows these schools where kids are being taught that's called extraocular vision. That's meaning you see, the eyes do not see. It's the cellular structure that and they, I mean, it's freaking mind blowing. They blindfold these kids. They can read and write, ride bicycles, play soccer, all blindfolded. And they can detect colors, shapes, and forms, and they can see energies. And they say kids have it down in a week to 2. Grown-ups need a month or 2. And it's a new training program. It was first introduced by Nityananda in India, a guru, how to expand your third eye, because it's an old system that in the old Brahmanic religion's been practiced for thousands of years. Interestingly, this comes to the surface now, that you are blindfolded. You can't see with your eyes. There's no visual contact possible. And then kids diagnose illnesses, diseases, see energy patterns, wave patterns, find gateways and whatnot. And this can be now, interestingly, it's introduced not so much as metaphysical magic. It's more like extrasensory perception. And I've seen the movie mind blowing. I mean, there was a lady that was nearly blind. She did a training course online, and she's blindfolded, and the lady holds up a green sheet. She's like green, red, blue. She can detect it, and she couldn't read without holding stuff like this with an 8 now. Her eyes are still nearly blind, but now she can read a menu like any other regular person because she uses her psychic vision. So this is no longer a theory that is possible. Now, my question is, we want to go to the site in Bosnia and then psychically scry out what is not visible to the naked eye. I'm not talking linear. I'm not talking Neolithic. I'm not talking timelines. I'm talking what's in the ether that has no time reference, that is in the zero field. And if you have trained, and that's what I'm attempting, and I also will teach that once I have accomplished that, whatever time that takes, with extraocular vision, to go to the site, to touch rocks and look into psychically what's there that's not visible for the human eye. Another trick, I don't recommend that to the untrained people. You take psychedelics and in the place, by a fireplace, and then you venture off with a guide that is sober, and you use your psychedelic site to see what's actually there, because there's information dormant there, but that's in a different space. So we gotta go past the crude technology that we have to measure scalar waves and measure the energies and feeling the healing effects. There's an effect past the healing, and that can be accessed. And that's where I call myself almost like a interdimensional detective. You can go to places and scry the information that they have left, because photonically, everything is ingrained in those rocks. Everything that happened is stored forever, like the Akashic. And when you have trained a certain state, it's called the gamma state, and your brain waves have 40 hertz, you are holding a frequency to really see what is there. And the untrained ear and the untrained eye cannot hear and not see. And the ancients that built that, they knew that. So they have built things there that for those that are perceptive, they will perceive and they'll see. And that's going to be interesting in the next 2 years when somebody that has acquired that training goes there and goes around looking and see what we find. That's what my interest is.
I think that can be arranged, right, Dr. Sam?
Yes. Yes, let's see, once we...
So, yeah, Dr. Sam? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's called EOV, extraocular vision. There are schools in New Zealand, in England, and believe it or not, even in Germany. And I'm half German. Trust me, Germans are skeptical as shit. They don't believe in nothing. And if people open up to having their kids running around blindfolded in class playing soccer, and I seen the interview with these German kids, so I listened past the translation, and they're having the experience. So this is becoming a reality. So I'm looking at many, many things that are happening on Earth right now that are being revealed, that are returning to us. And in the ancient books, in Sanskrit, it is written that we have siddhis in us. A siddhi is a dormant, you can call avatarian superpower that every human possesses. Meaning you can hear without ears, you can see without eyes, and you can feel beyond the five senses. And there's a synergistic process when these senses are combined to get into higher brain states. There are now, you can say, psychedelic electronic inspirational machines that teach you the gamma state. One is the neurophone developed by Patrick Flanagan, who passed, I think, last year. So I'm training with that. That is a neurostimulus to train your brain into higher states. And you do that every day, you'll be amazed how quick your brain gets into finding patterns. It's like you develop an intelligence without reading books. It's pretty amazing. And the other device that I bought is called V-Light, V-I-E-L-I-G-H-T. And you can train your alpha and you can train your gamma. Alpha for the following reason. Alpha is, I'd say, like everybody on here has somewhat a healthy alpha is paying attention and being consistent somewhat. That is regulated alpha brainwaves. A lot of people have problems in life because they can't stabilize regular consciousness as an alpha frontal lobe being here, being in the present moment. Very difficult for the average mind. Gamma is the higher state. I quote the Bible where there are mythological texts, and for some who have heard it before, you'll hear it again. That Jesus went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. That didn't mean he went there. That means he went into the state of a samadhi, and 40 days and 40 nights are 40 hertz. What is 40 hertz in the human? It's the gamma state when brain waves are synchronized. So ancient texts and ancient scriptures are alchemically disguised, whether deliberate or back then we knew it and we forgot about it. There are many texts written in metaphor that are actually alchemical constructs. If you go back there and reverse engineer what's being told to you, you'll find energies. There is a thing where once I have property, I'm attempting to replicate that. In the Bible, it talks about there are light gateways in the cities of light that are basically that the buildings are not made out of concrete, they're made out of a crystalline substance, which is today's possible for the resources that I have access to and stuff that we can photonically infuse and atomically agitate on a very high level. We can mix that with the concrete. I want to call it magic-crete, and get a very high resonant building besides a pyramid. And when you check in the Bible and the Revelation, it says how the foundation of that light cube is built, and it says emerald, jasper, clear quartz, all the properties for the frequencies to activate that cube and the measurements are in the book, and nobody checks that. Nobody gets it. You have to have a mind of a master builder to see there are pieces that are dormant and they haven't been put together, and we need to put them back together. And I'm investigating those things, and will guarantee you results. With my box already having results. I explained that again also for Dr. Sam. Is I looked at Bosnian pyramids, King's Chamber, and I've been studying all your videos, Michael Tellinger. All the experience you guys have with these things is one thing is in common, and that's what I put in the box. It's magnetic anomalies, highly biophotonically activated places, lots of negative ions. These three factors are, to me, my holodynamic trinity to make those things even work and function. And back then, for the level of consciousness where this planet was, I assume we needed pyramids to bring forth those energies. But these are also transmissions to our consciousness to understand that you can replicate that. We have done that in school. In high school, copper pyramid with the measures exact, like the ratio, 1:2, however small you scale the model, have the exact numbers, and you put an apple in a copper pyramid, and it doesn't decay, it mummifies. That already had me startled. And I read articles when I was 15, before the internet, that the Russians in the military, and probably Sam knows this, they sharpened their razor blades in the 50s with little copper pyramids, because they only, back then, it wasn't like you couldn't go to the grocery and buy tons and tons of shaving equipment. They had one razor blade in the army, and they needed to preserve that and keep that sharp so they can shave. Well, there were groups in the army where they kept the razor blade sharp in the pyramid, and everybody had like in their locker like a little copper pyramid, and they utilized those tools. Also brings also to another science, and people say they charge their crystals under full moon. It's actually garbage, because the full moon reflects the indirect sunlight, and it puts the crystalline structure on the atomic level in disarray. So blades get dull by full moon, and in the pyramid they sharpen. So there's an energy that is in alignment, and there's an energy that is not aligning us. That's why they say, werewolf, full moon, emotional body. We are not in control because we're not in alignment, and we need to be vigilant when those full moon energies hit us. So a lot of full moon based rituals are actually weakened by indirect sunlight. And a lot of people don't know that because they don't study the science. They don't look at the experiments. So I compare, I look at it. And we want to refine the energy. What I'm doing with my scalar fractal capacitor is I'm replicating the energy of a pyramidal construct with all of its aspects in nature. And not only that, the bigger these devices, the more the dimensions around you begin to change. So back then, I also studied not only the Egyptian history as a hobby. I was obsessed since I was 11. So I'm self-taught. In the esoteric wisdom, it is very clearly described to me that the pyramid systems all around the planet, thousands of pyramids that are dormant or in the ground that we haven't even found yet, were designed to keep the consciousness of the people in town intact. Meaning the pyramid also has to do with a biocosmic dynamic that keeps your intellect in a divine and prosperous way of mind state. So illness, disease, war, all of that stuff, way, way, way back in time, couldn't even brought in. That wasn't even, we were here to explore, to document and navigate and expand and refine. And when that was destroyed, we fell in consciousness. And then you got to go into also folklore, Arabian fairy tales. And I'm going past Aladdin's lamp and the thief Alibaba. There's technology explained in these tales, where we had access to things that we can't even begin to understand. Everybody knows open sesame, but go back in time. And Alibaba protected his cave with all the riches. He had a password, and a rock would move. That's technology disguised in folklore. So I'm going into these folklore aspects to find out this is technology. Somebody talks to a crystal that is embedded in the rock, and in the crystal an image appears of a being that is thousands of miles through the desert away, but the communication is instant in that so-called fairy tale. That's transmission. What are our CPUs running off? Silica, crystals. And when the electrons hit that, they sing a sound. It's all frequency. So everybody has an iPhone. It takes it for granted. Back then, when I watched Star Trek, people laughed at the glass pads that they had. That these were movie props. Little cutout plastic green boards, and they would film a screen, and they would mimic as if this was a touch screen before anything was invented. So the human race has in their psyche somewhat of the perception of where we were and where we will go again. And this time is with, but I like that Sam has this open dig site, no secrets, free to explore, lets the energy also flow freely. See, Gizeh is very locked. I don't know if Ali Wasad is still locking the place. He used to lock stuff down. Friends that I had, the Hertags that found a tunnel system, that got taken from them, and the dude came in with military and metal gates and locks everything down and controls. And then you have to go certain religions, and I'm not trying to discriminate, but if your religion begins 6,000 years ago, you can't be an archaeologist, because then everything that you'll find is heathen or a demigod or demonic or weird, because it's past 6,000 years. We got to go past religion. We got to go past religious beliefs, because everything is based on a base religion that is older than any known book. And we know there are books hidden in vaults of Tibet, where Greg Braden went, and we seen the pictures where the military doesn't even know where that place is, where they have wax scrolls that are 30 up to 60,000 years with knowledge that the monks say, we're not even ready to read that yet. There are books in the Vatican that where they have pages that change interdimensionally as timelines are changing. I believe that is true because I can get into the resonance of that. The palm leaf library in Madras, they say their leaves are changing. And they have also technical constructs of vimanas, these vehicles that the blessed ones from the other worlds had when they called them the world crossers. So there's an ancient, fantastic knowledge there. When people get out of the consensus, and I bet Sam has been through this tons of times, where people change dates, trying to ridicule you, trying to belittle you. Michael Cremo said that they had findings that were over, they believe, millions of years old. And the guy who found that, you have to watch all the Michael Cremo videos to find that out. And he said they went into the museum after the guy that found those artifacts, and they changed the dates. And out of 2 million years, they made 20,000 years. So they're lying for their own profit, their own agenda. The consensus control of this can't be. We have to open our minds. I believe what Sam found is if the stalagmite has stalactites and stalagmites. So for that thing to grow, that basement has to even be older in the construction before that even begin to grow where you found it. So I believe what you found is probably millions of years old. We're just going by the carbon-based reading that we can find, but I believe that Bosnian pyramid is probably over 1 million years old. It's easy, because we can't fathom those constructs yet. Not yet.
Wow. That was quite something.
Yeah, so we have to go. Let me give you an example. And then also, I don't know if Sam noticed, Michael Cremo was contacted by a crew. And this is documented. I mean, this is not even on CNN. It's just kind of mind-boggling. They did a survey in a level of 2,000 feet under the sea for sea levels. And there was a scientific group that found a city that looks like Tikal at a level of 2,000 feet under the sea and on the coast of Cuba. So they did a computer model and said, well, how is that this complete city that looks like Tikal, no, not like the Sun City, yeah, in Mexico, how is that at that level where the water levels were that low? That's impossible. We have no records in time that where water levels of the ocean were that low. So let's do a measurement how the levels increased back in time. Well, they found out that the temple must have been built 174 million years ago. And then the water levels rose. They have that in their computer model. They could go back 174 million years, and then it reached that level where the sea was that low. That has changed. Now put into your mind the human race being hundreds of millions of years old. It is my take that according to the Brahma religion, that bipedal beings, from elongated head to fully anatomically developed humans, are probably roughly 3 billion years old. And now put that in your pipe and smoke that. And I don't even know if anybody's going to recover from that.
Bipedal, did you say?
3 billion. 3 billion years.
You said bipedal. Human. Bipedal.
Bipedal, you know, us fully anatomically developed humans. And like I said, check Michael Cremo for Extreme Human Antiquities. He has found skulls, fully Homo sapien, fully developed, brain, everything like us here, 250,000 years old. That can't be debunked. That are in the museum, they're on display, there's no Cro-Magnon, blah, blah, blah. And I give you a tale to the Cro-Magnon, that might give you some enlightenment. See, I'm allowing myself to go into freak mode, go crazy. Do not limit yourself with protocol or the consensus or Harvard or degrees or whatever else, lock the mind. You gotta really, really go out. So now, ask yourself that in the Vedic text, it is the intelligent beings came from the stars. And those that came from the stars taught those that were fairly developed or somewhat close to them that there was an understanding. But there were beasts on this planet. Beings that were human-like, but they drank out of the same well with the animals, and they lived in caves, and they were hunting with clubs and with rocks, and they couldn't speak, they would grunt, and they wouldn't mingle with them because it was dangerous for them because they can get killed. So the caveman is a whole different other storyline here, and the intelligence is a whole different other storyline here, where Homo sapien shows up out of nowhere because we're partially an ET construct. We're a hybridized race. The Brahmic texts talk about the sixth race. We've been created, and the found these Anunnakian bases that are, according to the Sumerian text, between 250,000 and 500,000 years old. You can't even fathom that time in your mind in this little body. So it was said that beings came from the stars, and they had problems communicating with the inhabitants on Earth. They basically looked like a Sasquatch. So who knows if Sasquatch is one of the original inhabitants on this Earth, but also multidimensional. So, side note, if you're interested in why a Sasquatch is multidimensional, read Dweller of Two Planets, channeled at 1845 by an 18-year-old living at Mount Shasta. If you read this book, you can't have that knowledge around that time being 18 years old. And these books are out, you can buy that. It's on eBay, nobody really orders, nobody really investigates. Develop a psyche to what's pertinent for you to put pieces together. So basically it is said to me that millions and millions of years ago, we had ET influence as an extraterrestrial, cosmic, galactic civilizations influencing us, coming to this planet, finding beasts. And before the Anunnaki, they said, well, they're beast-like, you know, it's problems communicating and working and whatever the modalities were, from corporations to slavery. And they said, we need to create them like us. So we need to create a genome or a modification that we can communicate with them or create offspring that, you know, that are kind of like us. And that's what the Bible leaves you at. And God created humans in his image. It's not God, it's those who came before us, created us in their image. It makes the population on this planet and setting up camp a little bit better, and makes the work mode and the work modality a little bit better. It's interestingly, when you read the False Gods by Sasha Lessin, the Anunnakian tales, is they had problems that the first creation was too psychic, too much telepathy going on and knowingness, and they had to kind of like ban that. And so they had to change the gene codes to make us more submissive in these bodies, and cut telepathy. And it was cut another time when you read the Tower of Babel, and God in heaven, which actually was Enlil, an extraterrestrial that was very developed, but he was a Niburian Anunnaki, and probably partially Draconian, who said, you know, they're getting too smart, they're beginning to go interstellar, we will cut the telepathy. And it says in the Bible, back then, he was actually even nicer. It says that the age of each human shall be no more than 150 years. So we had an age barrier set by somebody who genetically modified us. I found scriptures that said women in the ancient days would only give birth every 7 years. And the Anunnakis changed that because they needed breeders. And I'm like, people, put it together. It's like Sherlock Holmes. One thing leads to another where I'm like, this totally makes sense. And yeah, we dropped in consciousness, we lost consciousness, and many, many, many side stories that take place, like apocryphes, as in side stories of the Bible, the sightings of Ezekiel, that we are an interstellar race, and we fell from that. And we cannot go past Lemuria because our psyche is, damaged, you know? Our psyche's in the brain. And Hermes said that, and Plato said that, and they said it in metaphor, but I know that in the mythical state of the mind, which is the 40 hertz, the gamma, the psychedelic state of the mind, you can access ancient memories that is in your cells given by your forefathers, because every cell in your body stores everything that has ever lived from the creation of that line where you're from. And when you smart enough and trained enough, and I want to build a school with people that I work with where I want to train this, that you remember who you are and remember how this all came to be. And to wrap this fantastic tale up a little bit, is it is said in the ancient scriptures that Ninhursag, and sister of Ea, which is Enki, put codes in the human race. They knew when they put these certain gene codes in there, and that's according to what I'm reading from the scripture. I'm also reading Billy Carson, The Emerald Tablets of Tohot. He compares that, Anton Parks also, all books of Anton Parks that have been translated. They put gene codes in us that when the ascension game kicks in, we will awaken to a true purpose. So we find the things and find the people to reactivate this planet to its original natural Gaia paradise frequency. Like Sam said, paradise is here. It's a frequency off in our consciousness where we couldn't see that. And I was in high states when I did my questing. The elemental spirits, all of that stuff, it is all here. We are dimensionally blind. We're not trained well. We used to be original cosmic interstellar beings and remember our heritage and our original family. And we were bred. I mean, you have to imagine, why is Star Wars talking about Clone Wars? Why is it that the Quran says every soul has 7 duplicates on the planet? How do these prophets know these things? These are fragmented bits they got from other scrolls that we lost over time. And these gurus in India know that there's been so many scriptures that got lost through fires and destruction, and others put them in safety, or others were put in the ground because they tried to hide and disguise the knowledge and confuse the mind of those who follow after that. And if I take your knowledge bank, burn down the Library of Alexandria, which is what we remember commercially, well, I'm trimming you down to the offspring that's here right now. I mean, look at the millennials. Their psyche is being turned on, and the young ones coming in, but they're clueless. And we need to train that again with discipline and not religious, more free. Like, you're free to explore endeavors and anything that is of interest for you if that furthers your human potential and brings you forward. And then when you get conscious people, imagine the election happens and nobody goes to vote. Party's over. We're not giving the power away anymore. And you don't need demonstrations in the streets where people get killed. We need consciousness, awareness of divine creation, embodied in the body to unfold and come back. And I see many, many good things are happening as it's been predicted that our pyramid was found, because things that were revealed will be found. Madame Blavatsky, 1834. And they said she was a Satanist and blah. It's all bullshit. That was a woman that divorced at an early age. Yeah, that you're already the devil. And then she said, I'm studying the Vedic text and I'm translating that for the Western civilization. That woman talks about triggers of cosmic treaties. The science that woman channeled in 1830s, just freak. It's vents steaming in your brain. It's just it's on overflow. What we already have received. Now we need spiritual scientists to feel into the field and combine the rational with the irrational, the linear with the nonlinear. Our brain is partially linear and nonlinear. The nonlinearity is actually the leader, and the linearity is the documenter, to see that we're finding what already was. So the universe does not need science to define it, because it is defined. We have the allowance at this time, in this age, to document our observation and lean on that carefully. That's where we are. And hopefully that rattled your chains a little bit.
All right.
Finito.
I thought at some point we might invite Michael Tellinger. I actually used to talk to him quite a bit last year. So anyway, maybe we'll do that at some point.
That'd be interesting.
On a future call.
Yeah. I'm all about the science. Like, you know, we have things here. You know, I bet I put a glass of water under the pyramids in the tunnels, and over some time the water will alkalize. I already know this, because this is what these energies do. They bring forth a self-alignment. We call it healing, but there's much more going on. Because once the body is completely healed,
Rob, do you want to explain your Trinity to everybody? Because I don't think people know your basic premise. I mean, they've been revealed a lot of facets, but if you can just describe briefly your Trinity, Trinity science, that would be helpful.
Well, real quick, I'll make it simple. Is when you have, when you change the magnetic field, which has collapsed over time, you have to think about if the magnetic field has collapsed. Where was that magnetic field of Earth 150 years ago? And why was magic more dominant and paranormal stuff and miracles happening on a grand spectrum back then and not today? So let's lean on, like I have three things: magnetics, natural magnetics. I'm not talking neodymium, I'm talking ferrite magnets, earth magnets. Photonic action, and negative ions. Yeah. These three components are very important in these places, whether it's Niagara Falls, Bosnian pyramids, Mount Shasta, Sedona, Hawaii. I explained in the video over and over, like, I observed that in Hawaii they had these, what are they called? Acacian tree, these African trees with the flat tops. And I'm like, these are gigantic, like. And then I looked at, you know, they're coming from Africa. Somehow, somebody, I don't know if Captain Cook or whoever, imported that to Hawaii. And I'm like, what's the time span? This is this intuition that I have. I'm like, I'm asking myself, what's the time span of that tree to grow in Africa? And they say 90 years to reach its full height. So I'm in Hawaii and I'm asking the same question. So how long do these trees need in Hawaii to grow till they reach the full height? They say 20 years. Now, why is that accelerated? And that's what I studied. Ions, negative ions in the billions on Hawaii. Photons, like life force. I mean, there's roots ranking around trees. The green and the lushness of the forest is night and day. If I go to Germany and look at our monoculture forestation, it's crap compared to the paradise energy or Lemurian energy that Hawaii still emits. So I'm like, every time in the field, photons are like in the billions. Negative ions, get an air ion meter, you can measure that yourself in places. In the billions. Magnetic anomalies, very high, where the field is not weak, the field is just twisted and spinny. And, you know, simple experiment, you take a magnet and you spin it in a spinner, and you take a seed of a regular a plant, whatever, mung bean sprouts, and have them grow. Well, guess what happens when the magnet spins? You'll see this spiral growing because the plant goes according to the magnetics. So in Sedona, you can find those, we call those vortex spots here, where the trees, in Germany, they're called Hexenbaum, witch's tree, is the tree grows in a spin and knots up and twirls and twists, and the energy is very high. The magnetics are also very high. You can go with your phone app with a Gauss meter to those trees and measure the magnetic fluctuations yourself. So I investigate, so I find those things. So I combine that and say this can be replicated. They did it in the King's Chamber. You know, they used the alignment of the pyramid and the aquifer that was built on as an energy portal to bring in biocosmic energy, but also I believe it was a stargate. It was never a tomb. Also, I believe the Gizeh pyramid was not built by Khufu. This is a bunch of crap attached by, I call them the pyramidiates. They're so involved in this three-dimensional density that they can't see the magic that's behind the science. And magic is higher science, supreme and divine science. And you need to be trained really to let it in to understand how this happens. So my thing, I call it holodynamic trinity, meaning that I believe the photon is not a massless particle like they say in Webster Dictionary. I believe the photon has mass. My extraterrestrial contact, my Arcturians and Esasani telling me it's a holon, which is like a graphic supercell that you need like a superpixel in this dimension, where every programming modality, as in the flower of life, any geometric construct that can be perceived, anything that has to be perceived from dimension 1 to 12 or whatever you go, has to be physical. So this ether and non-touch, all of this is, I think, baloney. I think that other dimensions are very physical. You know, like somebody talks about he's been to London, and just because you haven't been there or you never heard of the place, it doesn't mean London doesn't exist. So go back to Merlin, Avalon. I believe Avalon is a place, not some mythical, etherical, cloud-shrouded thing that nobody can touch. Go back to the Vedic text. The monks tested their students by making castles appear, by uttering words, and things which holographically appear. That's why we don't understand certain buildings here. Some of them are holographically projected in. Also, for Sam, very important. Now ask yourself, from the Gizeh pyramid, how come is that the pyramidion on top of the pyramid is older than the base? Now put that in your mind. The top stones are older than the bottom stones. So what was laid first? Was that thing projected from up on down? Like this is where it goes, okay, now your three-dimensional thinking does not help you solve that equation. And I'm going there, okay, let's explore the psyche, how this was projected in. So another example, Angkor Wat. The ancient legend says a monk that wasn't from this region, wasn't from the planet, came to the field of Angkor Wat and said, everybody leave except the student. And then he was uttering words, and overnight that temple appeared. What did that do to get those rocks chiseled in one form, uttering technical alchemical words that will put that in place? And I believe these are the technologies that we had in the past, that we can access natural spaces where, you know, where you have, like in Baalbek, you have rocks that are what, like 20 to 100 tons, if not even even 1,000 tons, even heavier. And the quarry is like 2,000 miles through a desert, and where they did experiments with ropes, and let's say 250,000 people couldn't push that thing. We have no machine on this planet known to man that can move those rocks. So you got to think interdimensional. You got to think giants. You got to think higher accessibility to technology that we have to psychically understand, not rationally. That doesn't work. With rational, you come but that far. But then there's a feeling, it's this field of feeling that, getting into it. And that's where my science is I'm looking at science where, okay, what happens if you put a bunch of photons in one place? What happens? and I'm looking at, and I can't source it all, hundreds of experiments where the Russians tested how does liquid respond when sunlight hits it. Well, it begins to structure itself, you know, it's changes structure. They did it with fuel. Hence, I built a fuel saver because I put the pieces together. I'm like, if I have a nanospherical substance as a storage medium, where I have a means to capture photons and then fuse photons in a storage medium. And let's say a pebble of a size of less than a millimeter represents a kilogram of quartz of photonic resonance. So if I can put that in powder and put it in a lipstick sized model, I can have half a ton of quartz projective energy on a fuel line. Maybe I have some impact. What I do, my 19 mile per gallon car is a 27 mile per gallon car to this day. I'm saving fuel. I'm selling it online. I didn't have one return. I'm doing it by hand. People are saving fuel. The oil stays clear because I'm anatomically going to the subatomic level with my technology, and I structure any disarray, anything that malfunctions. I can do that with electricity. I can do that with gas. I can do that with water. I have tested this alkalinity thing. You know, don't think I say this lightly. At home, took a little tiny photonic pyramid that I built with a photonic acceleration, and I put acidic water that I measure with a visual indicator under the pyramid, 2 pH. Let it sit for like 2 nights, and it's 7.2, and you can drink it. So I know the ancients knew about technology. We don't know about the same thing with runes you find on rocks. In Ireland, all of these granite rocks have a resonance, and these spirals on there have a resonance. That was done with a higher earth magnetism. So it's a couple of pieces I have to explain to you. So in Munich, in the University of Munich of Science, they did an experiment with fish. They had them breeding in regular water, regular magnetics, 0.4 Gauss, and then they increased the Gauss level by 1,000. Had them fish breeding again. Well, the fish that came out looked prehistoric, different DNA, different arrangement of chromosomes, different numbers, more durable, more robust, and a completely different intelligence, and it looked like a different species. So maybe we were giants back then. The field was higher, the field was increased. So I took that principle from what they found, because see, they do experiments, and then where does the experiment go? Okay, you can breed different fish. Nice. It's not going to be commercialized. It's not going to hit the market. So I'm like, okay, I use my scalar fractal capacitor, and I put a 20 Gauss brick in the base. I put the organic plates on top of it, and in between I put my photons. So I'm using photons, magnetic alignment, and organic energy in one box and put that together. And lo and behold, I have 3 different principles of different experiments that all work together. And Frank is one of the first ones, and a friend of mine in Phoenix, that you see that you can put that stuff in your backyard, your trees come back, your grass grows, you begin to think different, things are happening. I'm changing the field. So I can only imagine if I'm building a tower, how much I can influence the field. And wrapping this up with, in Russia, they have built the Nubian pyramid that has a higher resonance than the regular 51 degrees. I'll tell you why. Because the Nubian pyramid has 72 degrees. And 72 degrees is the highest, when the sun is at noon, the sun rays hitting you at 72 degrees, that's the highest photonic exchange you have between Earth and the sun. Well, highest level of consciousness. So Nubian villages and Nubian pharaohs that were like even blacker than the ones that we found in the regular pyramids. We were at a different level of consciousness, so pyramids were steeper. So the pyramid that was built in Russia by that guy, I think it's 144 feet high, changed the consciousness of the village, and the criminal behavior of the incarcerated people has a above average of people being released early because they are functioning. They're becoming divine beings. They're getting it. And that thing is made out of fiber and ceramic screws. So if with a building where you haven't even applied my technology, just the geometry, you have that influence, you can change the you can drop the crime rate in LA instantaneously in the central city by setting up 4 pyramids of that size. Well, nobody does that because nobody thinks that. That's where I'm at. So I'm like, okay, if it's too hot in Las Vegas, what can we do with the geometry and the alignment and the array of natural elements we have here that are all fragmented like a broken mirror, and we put them back together, drop the temperature from 120 or 115 to, let's say, 91, and the consciousness would change. And then people would also shop different. And this is what's coming. That's why a lot of systems are breaking down and failing, because consciousness will no longer, subscribe to it. And that's what we want to do. Past the cities of light, implementing technology, living in a house that activates you, not living in a house where there's limestone on the floor, you're having on your sneakers. Guess what? You're not connected to the Schumann resonance. Not really. You're connected to it when you take your shoes off and you hit the ground or you walk the beach. Science has shown that. I mean, the evidence from UFO sightings to natural science is so overwhelming that we must do the work right now. And Sam is doing the work, and I like that the place is open. It's not like you got to bribe people or sneak in or do your investigations. And if you find something, Lord and behold, jealousy kicks in. Everybody wants the Holy Grail. The human race is the Holy Grail. We all are it. And we all in this together, and all can awaken, and all on earth. As Bashar said, you on earth, you're worthy. We should work with that. And that's how basically my technology, I want to unify that you sit in this field, EMF cannot disturb you anymore, because your cells have a photonic input of knowing what's around them. And that's roughly what embodies my theory and also my technology. Again, magnetics, like under my bed, I have slabs of bricks of magnets, and I sleep better. I'm grounded, I'm not disconnected. On my meter, I can show you, I have anodized chips that regulate the EMF that thing basically radiates. So it's not so stingy anymore. It still is, I still work on bigger, different devices. You can see on top here, I have a raw cell, a photon cell next to the electricity coming to the house. I have holographic alignments. Like, I work with stuff, really testing it on myself for years and years and years to make living better, that you can come back naturally to yourself. And by that time, you won't even need supplements. You won't even need any of that. You know how it is. That's how I say, vitamins, direct light, enzymes, balance light, cells, store light. These are all light factories. So we're breaking down food into spectrums of light, which needs to be translated into the correct information. And if that correct information is taking place in the body, then we can talk about enlightenment. Besides of how it's being projected. Enlightenment means all intracellular communication is lit. And that's what Jesus said, as in the enlightened figure, when my body is full of light, mine eye is single. That is the all-seeing, all synergetically, all bringing that into one, using the alchemical aspect, stepping away from a religion that promises you something after death. We got to just cut that. With awareness, this will fade. Respect to all religions. They're all coming from source, but now it's time to put the pieces together. And that's what I really enjoy. It's like you have a Lego box and you're digging through your Lego box and you're finding pieces that connect pieces you didn't know they actually connect. That actually works. That's so interesting. Yeah, so that roughly explains what I do.
Thank you, Ra. Thank you. Well, I can't wait to see what the collaboration between you and Dr. Sam on ground zero.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm already training. I already found a school for extraocular vision. I mean, I already have sight, but I have problems holding focus, like in 3D. I can, like other dimensions, easy perceiving inventions, and I want to do this with these kids. Like they're blindfolded and they're reading books. And it can be trained. Are you kidding me? Really, like that just kind of blew my mind. And somehow, something tells me investigate that. So I did. So I'm in contact with the first school that I found in New Zealand. And well, the minute they're ready, it's like $40 a class and you need to do like 10 classes. So I'm like, psh, that's better than buying shoe polish or car polish or makeup right now.
That's for sure. Well, Dr. Sam is already doing stuff with children, if I remember it correctly. You brought some children to the park and exposed them to the energy, and then the trees and the tree hugging and all of that. So you're already working on some aspects of that because the pyramids generate that beautiful energy already. So can you share a little bit on that?
The last 5 years, we have purchased about 50 properties, about 100,000 square meters. It's 10 hectares. And from neglected swampy land, we transform it to most beautiful, unique park in Europe. And we have a lot of installations. And some of them are about teaching the respect for every living being. Among them is, for example, hug the tree, show your love. So yes, we bring kids, like last year, 2019, we have had 95 schools coming to our park from different parts of Bosnia and Croatia. And we've been exposing those kids to our installations, to talk about the energy properties, about our auric fields, and so on. And kids started feeling the energies through their hands and the fingers. And so, you know, we want to explain them that our physical senses, 5 of them, can tell us only about one aspect of our life, the physical dimension. But besides 5 physical, we have 30 spiritual senses. So we can see much more, we can sense much more, and so on. So yes, I think it's very exciting work, and especially due to the fact that we actually already work with the kids. And our site, which started 15 years back as the archaeological project, and still it is a big archaeological project. This is the most active archaeological site in the world. We've expanded it to the scientific fields and then to the energy aspects, using teams of physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, people with the scientific instruments, measuring different types of the energy phenomena like electromagnetism, electrical field, magnetic field, ultrasound, infrasound, temperature, level of orgone energy. And then these energies, they affect our energy fields. That's how we come to the spirituality. And then they affect our health status. A lot of people are coming, and then since they come to the original Schumann resonance in the tunnels, they come back to the balance. And since there are no harmful radiations, no cosmic radiations, no natural radioactivity, no geopathogenic radiations, no signal for cell phones, no signal for Wi-Fi. So without those harmful radiations, our body cells, they don't have enemies. So for the first time in their life, they can start doing their job. And their job is to fix the problems in our body, to start the regeneration process. And when you add the fact that what we can measure, the best electromagnetism, the best ultrasound frequency, excuse me, of 28 kilohertz, which is the levitation frequency. The best very low frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is the original Schumann resonance, and very high concentration of negative ions. So those 10 elements together create the most secure and the best environment for the regeneration process. And that's the reason why we can see so many healing testimonials. Just today I have filmed a couple of healing testimonials. So I would say the ancients knew that if they amplify the existing natural frequencies and natural energy sources, they were getting the best frequencies, they are not harmful for our body, and they bring a lot of benefits to us. What we do with the energy is completely different concept. You know, frequencies like here in Europe, 50 hertz, in the US 60 hertz, voltage 220 here, 110 in the US, so bad. I mean, you touch the loose wire, it kills you. You talk on your cell phone, it starts killing your brain cells. So our concept of energy is different. We rely on coal in the last couple of 100 years, dirty industry, thermal power plants. We rely on oil and gas, limited resources, again, dirty industry, and all other industries, chemical, petrochemical, pharmaceutical, food industry, all based on oil and gas. And then we have nuclear power plants and nuclear energy. You go from Chernobyl to Fukushima and back. They're still radiating, they're still contaminating our planet, the earth, soil, water, and the air. So everything we do with the energy is wrong, and plus it's so costly, allowing less than 1% to have more than 90% of our resources on the planet. The ancients were much smarter. They knew the power of the geometrical shapes, the power of the shape of the pyramid, the power of the shape of the conical shape, the power of the spherical shape. They knew elements of sacred geometry, they knew quartz crystal and so on. They were so much smarter. So we want to expose the kids, the new generations, to this type of knowledge.
That is awesome. So imagine those kids that are going to that school that Ra was mentioning, with developing and bringing forth that unseen seeing capacity, and bringing them to the pyramids and then letting them loose basically and exploring that energy. Wow, I can only see amazing things happening. That would be quite an experiment, and I would say something to witness for sure. So future generations starting off on a completely different foundation, basically.
Yeah, it's what Dr. Sam already said, is that me studying Dr. Kozyrev is when the cells have no enemy, when the pineal gland doesn't have to defend itself against its environment, you get psychic. That's why a lot of people are not developed. You living in a 60 hertz, and that's for everybody right now. If you're living in an unprotected 60 hertz or 50 hertz household, guess what? You're somewhat in a negative Faraday cage, where your soul has problems migrating astrally because you're locked in a psychic prison with the parasitic electricity that we're consuming. And we need to change those energies, because these energies need to serve us, not lead us. And that's where Sam is absolutely right. The minute the cells have no defense, you get ingenuity, you get genius, you get brainstorms, ideas coming in. And guess what? And Dr. Kozyrev has tested that in the Kozyrev mirror. When he basically put a person in a steel tube, you shield it from all radiation all around, your pineal gland begins to decalcify, it begins to open, and it begins to grow. And people got that psychic that they ran out of the rooms that he built and the tubes, because they heard voices. Beings were communicating with them. stuff turned on and they couldn't handle it. So there's things that we can do actually to help us to attain that. And yeah, that's how it is. When the body, healing is one level. When you're healed and well, and there's nothing more where you have to defend yourself against, it's like, and then the other 32 cities can turn on, but they can turn on when we're in a divinity. Also, pyramids also have to do with before Earth got hit. Gaia used to be a super nexus craft world. Like imagine Earth is a fragment of that original planet. In ancient texts, it was told Earth got hit severely. I don't know if Nibiru crashed into us, but something heavy besides a meteor crashed into this planet and turned everything upside down. So the damage that's left is they know that the Indians and the natives in America, they know that the sun has a negative radiation from 12 noon to like 4:30, where it's not actually healthy. That's from the wars. We have other radiation still going on from the antediluvian wars. So pyramids and those devices were built to harmonize the planet and regulate the entire damage after that crash. Because my feeling tells me when Earth was this paradise planet, we needed smaller devices to harness those energies. Also, I realized the more natural life force is in your home, the more you'll have visitors. They actually like that field. They don't like the electricity in artificial lights. They like candlelight. They like salt lamps. They like when you take the 60 hertz out, there's a thing called E something systems where you can filter out the 60 hertz going into your house. Like imagine even Scalar technology today that runs on 60 hertz cannot be 100% efficient, because if you want to talk about what the Bosnian pyramid scalar waves are uninterrupted. So to me, a scalar wave, and it's not to be in competition with any other systems out there, but if you have a power outage, the Bosnian pyramid is still running because it's based on nature. Your scalar computer will be without power, and it's going to just be dead because it depends on a 60 hertz circuit. And how many people that have scalar systems have a...
And I had to rotate something away.
Yeah, you have to also have a 60 hertz filter in front of your device. Makes it, people don't, you know? So basically, yeah, getting this healing potential into not having to defend ourselves against our environment brings forth more psyche, brings forth more abundance, brings forth more brainstorms and more natural geniuses. This can all be done, you know, and things will change drastically. The more, I also believe that it's going to be life-changing. Everybody who visits the Bosnian pyramids long enough and is introduced to this energy, you'll be changed forever. There's no going back. Your cells now know there's a way where there's no war and you're protected and you can heal, and that will turn something on in us. And this is what we're developing, what we're finding right now. And I find that amazing. That's just remarkable, you know.
Well, let's continue on that note and see who else we can bring into this group so that we can truly develop something that would bring us a step closer to that development, right? Yeah. Whether it's connecting to that school to bring some of those children to the pyramids, or others that are working with scalar energy or tapping into that would be another way. So so we can really create something that would affect our life here on this beautiful planet and bring the planet back.
Yeah, and I tell people these healing modalities, it's not like they do everything for you. Miraculously, everything will be clear. If somebody designs in their subconscious, they want to die of cancer, guess what? You'll die of cancer. We must do the work. The energy is an offering, but we must decide, I choose life, I choose love, I do not choose death, I do not choose fear or separation. You must do the work. I tell people that if they get healing devices, if you have problems, don't think miraculously they're going to be solved by me rectifying your field in your house, you have an opportunity now to respond to what's being offered. And that's where your work comes in, you know?
Yep. Yeah, we are, after all, we are responsible for our own vessels and our existence.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like, we have been online now for about an hour and a half for sure. This has been recorded, so I will share once I change it into YouTube. That could be then easier shared with everybody, and you can then share it with others so that we can bring more people on board. Would you be interested in another follow-up call? Maybe we can then have some more updates on both of your sites, whether it's in Bosnia or whether it's in Sedona, and your developments.
Work from home, so right now I'm not traveling because of all of this mess, so I'm at home.
Okay, so how does that sound that we make it like in a few weeks, let's say 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, I'm down.
What about you, Dr. Sam?
All right.
That would be end of September. Is this time a good time for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's schedule something. I'll send you an invite for, we can do Sunday, the 20th of September or the 27th, whatever works. Yes?
Yeah, 27.
27.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Taken, note taken. I noticed there are a couple questions. Winston, you asked, what is the meter called that measures the organ energy?
Yes.
It's called experimental life energy meter.
And where can I get one of these things?
Google it. You can Google it, and
okay,
you get only one instrument under that name: experimental life energy meter.
Okay, fantastic.
Can you see this?
Yes. That's it. Huh? Wow. Okay. Just curious, how much does that thing cost?
Around $140 or something.
Oh, okay. Nothing that's going to break the piggy bank.
No, it's worth investing. So I did a video.
Okay.
So I urge you, the other watchers, Sam, if you have the time, on orgone energies where I'm showing you, I'm measuring like a dead leaf, no life force. A fresh leaf, life force. You can adjust it, and then I show you what my photon sand does with this life force. And my photon sand is glass, it's crystal. It's not, because people are like, oh, this is fake, you're dealing with conduction. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Zero.
So where can they find this video that you are talking about?
It's called Orgone and Life Force Explored. It's in my list. Go through my list.
So it's a raw site?
Yeah.
Raw key?
A YouTube channel, Arcturus Ra.
Arcturus Ra.
Yeah, and you'll see it. It says Life Force Orgone Chi Explored. And I'm showing you actually how this responds to different things like metallic, non-metallic, organic, non-organic. It always responds. It's not based on conductivity. And
got a quick question. So I'm, as you know, I'm trying to clean up a whole 1 acre size lake. So I can actually take the water from the lake and measure this organ energy?
Yeah, and then you have to figure out, what's the resonance. And you have to also measure for yourself what's a good resonance, what's a bad resonance. Is it weak? Mm-hmm. Is it, and it create like a timetable. So I know when the energy it's crap. I look at the human life force, like it measures your body. You put the probe is in here.
Okay.
But the probe built in. You get like a package, and then you can switch here on the switch between the probes.
Okay.
And human life force I use as a reference, and I have a certain level. Mine is like around 40, 50. That's just for me. And then I look at elements. Are they overwhelming me, or are they working with me, or what's the strongest? I even measured orgone devices, and certain orgone devices, sorry to say, they are paperweight. They're not even scientifically put together right. So you want that stuff to be done right, and you want results. So that's what I'm working on. And not all the you find this. You see, they print this with a 3D printer. These people make that themselves. Sometimes it's and you won't find anything, and then you just keep searching, stay on it, and then one or two are being sold, and that's when you got to catch that. And I found it on eBay.
Okay, but by the way, did you have a chance to send out some of the crystals for me? This is Winston speaking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now because this is a whole nother thought pattern I have to open. So I thought you wanted pendants, not crystals.
No, I wanted the crystal powder or whatever.
Okay. I see here. Here's the thing. I offered the super soil.
Okay.
So you soil and
We couldn't hear you, Ra. We couldn't hear you.
so I offered the Agromagic,
right?
The powder itself. I didn't say that, so that's why I'm confused.
Yes, it's the powder that I was looking at, the Agromagic that you had mentioned to me.
Got it. Next week, everything goes out.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winston. Thank you, Ra. And Sandy had something to ask. She said enzymes add light, and then a question: no supplements add light, and
No.
enzymes balance
I
light.
was just writing down what Ross said, and it's actually no enzymes add light. No, supplements add light, enzymes balance light, and cells hold light. Is that correct, Ra? That's what you said, I thought.
Here's this.
Supplements add light?
Okay, let's break it down. Not supplements. Let's break it down. Vitamins direct light. They're direct. Enzymes balance light. Minerals store light. Cells produce light.
Okay, thank you.
So basically what your body is
Can't hear you.
You'll have to repeat.
Of a system.
We could not hear you again.
Okay, the pure. Okay, I don't know what something is.
Something
maybe
is recording it.
Maybe don't text me. Maybe the texting is blocking it. Every time the text comes, my sound cuts. Basically, if your light distribution, and that's my theory, that's the intrascalar level. If that is corrected, you're enlightened. That means you're healthy. You're fine. And that is what needs to be corrected. And our food is the dense version of that, Everything gets broken down into photons, into information between the cells. And when that's established, you're good.
And what do the minerals do again?
Minerals store light.
And enzymes do what?
They balance light.
Balance light.
Enzymes what light again?
Balance.
Enzymes balance light.
Minerals is what I'm, sorry.
Minerals store light. Enzymes balance light. Vitamins direct light. Cells produce light.
Got you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we have it all on the recording, so you will be able to.
Yeah. And I have no 1000% scientific proof. This is me channeling what I'm getting from the Arcturians and what I'm seeing how they operate.
Okay.
So if that works for you, good. That's all I'm saying.
Well, thank you both, Dr. Sam. Thank you, Ra. Thank you, every single one of you. Thank you, Frank and Nisa and Joel and Sandy and Winston and Sean and Rebecca, Ken, and there is Jackie Jordan. I have not seen you before. I don't know how you found us, but I'm grateful that you're here. I hope you had benefited from this call. And I'm looking forward to our next adventure and what we are going to find out then.
I invite
Until
you
then,
back.
Hey, guys.
until then, stay well and enjoy the rest of
Thank
the
you.
summer. Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.